Wow, Tim's computer is never on the ball like that. Welcome. It is January 15th or 16th. We're halfway through January now. So thank you for joining us and for your interest in somatic meditation. We'll begin with our mantra and our centering, and then I'll give you a little teaching talk, and we can also, after that, you'll have a chance to introduce yourselves, where you're connecting from, respond to the talk, and then we'll do some meditation. So let's start by feeling our connection to the earth underneath us. Begin to open to the qualities of the earth. Feeling the vastness and the openness. The depth, the stability, the peace. And let those qualities permeate your body and being. Just notice the way that they are. And then feeling that stability from the earth. Let it animate your spine, lengthening up from the root through the crown, the back of your head. Letting your ears be over your shoulders. Letting there be an openness through the back of your neck, your space between your teeth, your tongue floats in your mouth. And just let your elbows be directly underneath your shoulders too. So you're not being pulled forward or back. Let yourself breathe into your lower belly. While feeling the space of your body. And just notice how the phrases of our mantra land for you today. Remembering that I'm intrinsically good without exception, and that I've been given this precious opportunity of my unique life. I find ways to engage in my daily practice in everyday life. When I open to the vastness, stillness, silence, peace, and stability of the earth, that vastness, stillness, silence, peace, and stability opens into my body and being. I'm remembering that my heart is open, tender, and responsive. I enter into my relationships as part of my daily practice in everyday life. Then you can take a moment to connect to each other, to our community here, to the unique and precious individuals who have taken the time to come today, to come and practice today, given of their time to be with each of you. Knowing that each one of them also has access to their own embodied wisdom. And so when we speak in circle, we know that we can each speak from our own unique experience, using the words I and not you. And that even when we're having painful experiences, there's no need to fix or change or rescue anybody here. Okay. So I've been contemplating our theme a little bit more for this month on this New Year, New Me, that we're putting under a bit of a microscope, or just questioning a bit and contemplating how the goals and plans that we lay onto our lives can often be out of alignment with part of our mantra, the part of our mantra where we remember that our heart is open, tender, and responsive. And especially when we reflect on our relationship with ourselves, and then also our relationship with each other. And so when we say that our hearts are open, tender, and responsive, I think sometimes this gets confused. It can be confusing because those words are quite beautiful, and they are quite beautiful, but they can be a little flowery and romantic, and yet they have very practical and clear meanings that we can fall back on as well. So when we say that our hearts and our bodies, by extension, are open, it means that they're not limited by our conceptual ideas about life. You know, even this New Year, New Me thing, that's definitely a concept. That's definitely a concept that we lay on to January. You know, our hearts and our bodies could care less that it's January, actually. Our hearts simply welcome our lives as they're unfolding without wanting them to be any different. They're present to what is. And I love how my meditation teacher, Neil, says and puts it. He says, you know, our body doesn't actually care what our personality has to go through. That is openness. You know, and life will present us certain circumstances that our bodies, you know, physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically, spiritually, will be ideal for us to go through for our development, without us actually needing to lay any trips and plans on ourselves at all anyway, which is kind of the funny part of it. But, you know, with the whole New Year, New Me kind of agenda, we override the openness and the perfection that is our life. And it stops us from living a life that is truly embodied and truly authentic, and actually trusting the life that is right here and right available for us. So when we kind of map out all these plans and these trips that we put on ourselves of how we should be different, how we should improve, we actually miss what's happening right here and right now. It can be a kind of a way that we avoid what's happening, avoid what's going on, kind of create these little side projects to kind of almost like reverse blinders, right? So this is what's happening, but then somehow we create these projects, and then it allows us to look elsewhere, you know. You know, it kind of creates these ideas that we have to do everything right. We have to be perfect. We have to have it all figured out. And not only when we create these plans, do we have to do it right, but it sure helps for the unfolding of these plans if everybody else in our life does it right as well. Because if everybody else doesn't behave according to our plans as well, that really puts a wrench into our plans. And I mean, I'm laughing about it right now, but it can really screw things up for us. And that's just makes the whole thing go completely out of whack. Which actually brings us right back into alignment, thankfully. So, it's not realistic. It's not realistic to be so attached to our plans. Jackie really brought it perfectly, because kind of this morning we all were like, got on this bandwagon of, yeah, we should let go of our plans. But she's like, well, like plans are actually good. It's a good idea to pay your bills and to show up and, to have some discipline around, or otherwise, we would never come to our yoga mats and things like that. But, it's sort of in the attachment to the plans that we get into trouble, which I would 100% agree with her. So anyway, the point is that that's surrounding the not perfect part, right? We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to have it all figured out, because it's not realistic. And also, when we're looking at the open, tender, responsive part of our mantra, we realize that not only is it not realistic, but the training that we're doing here shows us that it's really not necessary either. We can learn to trust that we can meet our lives as they arise. We've kind of talked about this in the past, about being caught in the waiting room of our life. And this is kind of a metaphor, but, if we're always trying to manage our lives, then we're just one step removed from it, rather than actually being present to what's happening. We're not fully engaged in the experience. And in that place, there can be a lot of preparing. There can be a lot of evaluating. There can be a lot of judging. But in the meantime, our life is happening, and it's unfolding in often quite beautiful ways, often quite delightful ways, and sometimes in very terrifying ways that we can be missing or avoiding. And we can spend our whole life kind of back here in this, what feels like a safer place, maybe, or maybe a safer place, but not in the direct experience of the delight, of the beauty, of the terror of it all. But, at some point, and especially for all of you here who are engaged in a path of somatic meditation, what we're doing here, because we're practicing, we're opening to our embodied experience, we're learning how to, with somatic meditation in particular, we're coming into our embodied experience. We're learning how to feel into the felt experience of our bodies, so we can trust the wisdom of our bodies, trust our intuition, our internal knowing, our embodied wisdom, and so that we will know how to respond with appropriate and skillful action. And that's really what we're talking about here. And so that we will know how to open to life with all its mess, with all its grandeur, with all its boredom. And we can step into it. We can feel into what our body is saying. And it's not always going to be saying yes. It's not about being Buddhist doormats. Sometimes our bodies are going to be saying, no, this isn't appropriate. And we can respond. We can respond skillfully, and we can respond appropriately. When we're open to our lives, it's not that we do have it all figured out. It can be quite messy. It can be quite uncertain. And as I say, it's not about doing it perfectly. And this is where we come back to the openness of our bodies and rely on the training that we've been doing. So feeling into our bodies, feeling what's happening. And sometimes it might mean taking a more appropriate edge. If things are really just ramped right up and it's just too much, we step back, we feel into our bodies, we feel into what's right. We call in other resources if that's helpful, right? We rely on our Sangha brothers and sisters, our community support to come in and help us when we need that, rely on their training to support us when we need it, and keep feeling into our body. But it doesn't necessarily mean when it's full on that we're going to be able to have 100% insight. So open mean, this is what we're training for. When we do somatic meditation, we're opening to the felt sense of our body. And when we do yin yoga too, I truly believe this, because in yin yoga, in somatic meditation, we're creating a kind of contrived environment. I think the environment is often very comfortable. But in yin yoga, I think, it takes it that step further, because we're often in uncomfortable, intense sensations. And so when we learn to be present in the yin yoga postures for 5 minutes at a time, or 2 minutes of lunge pose 3 times, then we start to build the confidence and trust that we can do that in our day-to-day lives too, right? When discomfort arises, we know that we can be present because we have been in our yin classes, right? And that's, in all honesty, those kind of intense periods of our lives, they can last a long time, but they kind of last the duration of a yin yoga pose. There's kind of breaks. We can kind of breathe through them and be with them, and then feel the reverberation and come back and breathe with them and be with them. Yin is just such a great training ground for that. So that's where we train to be open. And then tender means that we do have the capacity to know in an intuitive way what needs to happen. When we tune into our bodies that way, that's why we're training to be open. When we practice our somatic meditation, when we practice our yin yoga, then we start to tune into those messages of our body, right? And we start to know that, okay, yes, we're going to do this. Yes, this feels right. This definitely doesn't feel right. We're going to pull back from this. Something's not right here. Something's that we know in an intuitive way that something needs to happen. And through our meditation practice, I think we really do gain trust and confidence in ourselves, that we can meet each situation as it arises. We know that we can be in our yin postures for 5 minutes. We can sit in our meditation for as long as we sit in our meditations. We know we have this track record with our practice. The more tension release, the more spacious and open our body becomes. The more you practice, the more you'll be connected with your body's internal wisdom, and the more you'll be able to respond to that. And then responsive just simply means that you are able to move into the world, into the situations that are presenting themselves without doubt and reservation. And that means that you're willing to take appropriate and skillful action in your own life as it unfolds, as your life requires it. So there's not really this need to have it all figured out and mapped out, because as life presents itself, you have the trust and confidence in yourself that you can handle it as it unfolds. And life will bring to you what you need, and you'll be able to handle it, which is great. It's won't always be comfortable, but it's pretty cool. So, that's my contemplation for today. And, as always with these, it's really important that you take it for yourself, reflect on it for yourself, contemplate, is this true for me? It might not be true for you. Is this true for you in your life? But this is, true for me in my life. These teachings have helped me in my life, and now you take them in your life, you test them and see if they're true in your life, and that's the role of contemplation. So I will hand it over to you, and you can respond. You can introduce yourselves and where you're connecting from, And if you have any questions or responses, thoughts about the talk, then now's a good time to open to that as well.
I'll go ahead and go first. My name is Shar, and I'm connecting from Ohio. And your talk really does speak to me because I've had some very uncomfortable times lately. I've been training for my new job, and so opening up to a lot of new experiences. And definitely the yoga and the meditation have all been very helpful for me especially during this time. So thank you for that.
Are you sensing in yourself a confidence, despite not knowing what you're doing in your job, a confidence that you'll be able to meet what's being turned over to you?
I do. I do. I feel more empowered, I think, to actually step into doing something totally different than I have been. So I do feel more confident that I can, I can do whatever comes next.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not comfortably, but whatever,
Right.
Whatever comes next.
Right.
I'm Betsy from Georgia, and I wanted to give an example of something that I think my awareness has increased, and so I could appreciate it to a greater degree. My family was in during the holidays, and then at the end of it, my daughter-in-law was left and everybody else had gone, and we were having her parents over to the house for dinner. My husband is the cook in the house, but in this particular case, he was kind of not a major participant. But I decided I was going to do this and make it work. So I'm out of my comfort zone. And these people are very nice, and I just want to be able to sit in a place and welcome them in the home and talk. The nice thing that happened was my daughter-in-law supported me in the way that a family member actually would, setting the table for you. It's really hard to explain, but kind of picking up those things that were around the edges and drawing your attention away from what you were trying to focus on. And she just made them happen. And it felt very whole and loving. And it was a huge, huge gift. It was actually one of my favorite gifts of the whole December.
Mm-hmm. It's really beautiful.
So I'm Kyla, North Carolina. I'm really tired right now, so but I really wanted to be here, so I'm glad to be here. I've just now started working with the daily mantra in any kind of focused way. I copied it out in my new yoga journal, and right now, in a sense, all of the words, it's not like they blur together, but when I receive them, they all seem to go right to the same place in a funny kind of way. There's not a lot of distinction between, well, this part means this and this part means that. And it just feels like, as I go, today was a crazy day. I've been all over the map and very squirrely and very tired and all these things I think I have to do. And at the same time, when I can pull out of the thinking about it and just come down inside and think about that first phrase, I am intrinsically good without exception, it's like there's an opening that happens that's just really supportive and kind, and it's been the day has been bouncing back and forth from one to the other, from the all the plans and thoughts and intentions, and then going and take a rest, so and I'll just add that I did the yin for neck and shoulders today again, and that last twist, incline twist with the knees on one side and arms out and head, I nearly fell asleep, and there were many points of discomfort in my body. I mean, it was not like cozy position, but when the cue came to start moving out of the twist, I realized that I had been somewhere else. So for what that's worth, there was some real relaxation there.
Beautiful.
I'm Anne-Marie, calling in from Victoria in Australia today. Just following on from what Kylie was saying, I think I've become really aware, and what's alive for me the last sort of few weeks is how I'm able to hold like the paradox of things. Like when Kylie was saying she was like in the twist, it was really uncomfortable, but she still felt as if she was able to fall asleep. I'm finding in a lot of experiences that I'm able to hold like those both two extremes of different things that are coming up in relationships and things in everyday life. And when Kylie shared that, it just brought that back to my awareness. And I'm just happy to be here today with everyone sharing this space.
Well, I'm Michelle, also from Australia. And one of the things that stood out for me from the talk was the part about what needs to be done. And something has changed for me about that, knowing what needs to be done, is that I make decisions and make choices now that I don't feel guilty about, essentially. An example of that was New Year's Eve, and we had all my neighbours out in the front yard, and Martin couldn't come out because he was sick, and I went out for a little while, and then after all the fireworks were done, I sort of came back in to check in on him, and I thought to myself, I actually don't want to go back out, so I didn't. And there wasn't really a part of me that felt like, I should go out and say, hey, that's me done for tonight, you guys keep going, it's, I'll catch up with you later. It was just really tuning in and making choices that suited myself and my partner. It feels good not to have the associated guilt with it.
Mm-hmm.
That people pleasing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm Maria from Harrison, New Jersey. For me, what kind of stands out is like in my life is I'm finding a lot more openness to my day. Like I'm not bothered by agendas anymore or the need to keep going when I don't need to go. Or need to follow through with things. Today I didn't have to go to work. I did some yoga. I was trying to do some meditation and my neighbors were making so much noise. I couldn't relax. And my daughter walks in and she's like, "Oh, Mom, do you want to come with me to the mall?" I'm like, "Okay." nothing to overthink things. Or my whole day went surprisingly swiftly and nicely, and I didn't make any plans. Everything went smoothly, and I didn't have to focus on anything. And that's one thing I've been seeing in my own life, day to day, that the more I don't focus on making so many plans and agendas to what I have to do all the time, the more open my day is. So open to my life.
Nice. So just listening to all of you speak, I just want to respond. I got a little distracted by the cheesy bag there. My train of thought. But Kyla's talk about those days that are just kind of overwhelming, or that don't go according to plan. Yeah. Just, sometimes there's a tendency, I think, that there's just still that kind of underlying belief, maybe. I know I have it. That because, we do this, because I'll use the word because I do this meditation, or because I do this yoga, that, my life should be smooth. Right? And yeah. That's not the way it goes. Life just keeps unwinding the way it unwinds. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you either. Yeah.
That makes me think. I think of life as a roller coaster. And you're just strapped in, and sometimes it's just really nice and a pretty view, and sometimes you're getting ready to go up to the top, and things are happening. You're not going to like them. Yoga, to me, is like making the strap that holds you in all soft and furry and secure. You're still on the roller coaster. As opposed to just like holding on with your life.
Oh my God, I love that. So at least we get like a cozy seat or something for the ride.
There's no getting off.
That's a really interesting analogy. Yeah, there is no getting off. Yeah. And there's no trajectory. It's not like you go up and then you get through the clouds and then now you're in clear blue sky forever and ever. Congratulations, you made it to the blue zone of your life. It's just not the way it goes. So I think even though we kind of intellectually know that, sometimes when our life is exploding, we can think, why is this happening? So I think it's just good to have that reminder hoisted upon us every once in a while. So, okay, so let's do some meditation. This is our training. We open. I'm going to lie down on our backs. So you're lying on your back with your knees bent and your feet flat on the floor. And take a few moments to become comfortable so that your low back is comfortable, your neck is comfortable, your elbows are heavy, your gaze is turned inwards by closing your eyes, and you're opening yourself to that internal felt sensation. Palms on your lower belly. Feeling your 2 feet. The 2 sides of your buttocks, your mid-back, your two shoulder blades, your two elbows, and your head on the ground. And just taking a few breaths here to feel the support of the earth. And to notice that just taking this position, the way your body begins to relax, the way your body begins to unwind. And there is an openness and receptiveness here, both for your body, but also there's that exchange between you and the earth here. So any tension that you might be carrying in your body, whether it be from today or from your entire life, can be released, surrendered back into the earth. And then begin with your feet. Breathing into your big toes on both sides. Breathing into all the pores of your big toes. And sensing and feeling into what's there for you. So maybe you feel the bones, the skin, the bottom, the sides, the top, the toenail, the tip of the toe. And as you tune into your body, you'll uncover sensations, tension, gripping, and holding. You can relax and let that tension release down into the earth. And then breathing into your second toes. Breathing into all the parts of your second toes. Again, the bones, the fascia, the muscles that surround the bones. Feeling the length of the second toes, the toenail, the skin, the sides, the tops, the bottom. And then noticing as you tune into that tension, it begins to shift and change. It releases and dissolves down into the earth. And then breathing into your middle toes. And feeling the tension in your middle toes. Also noticing how that tension is being drawn down into the earth. And then notice how your awareness moves into your fourth toes as the tension is released from your middle toes. Feeling all parts of your fourth toe, the bones, the muscles around the bones, the insides, the outsides, the tips. And feeling that release and dissolve of tension down and into the earth. And then finally, the baby toes. Notice how the quality of the baby toes is quite different, a little bit retracted, drawn back. Letting that tension release and dissolve down. And then breathing into all 5 toes. So feeling first how they're probably more spread out, less tense, less gripping, more connected to the earth. And yet even as we release those layers of tension, other layers of tension will probably reveal themselves. So as you breathe into all the pores of all 5 toes, you can let those deeper layers of tension reveal themselves. And follow their release down and into the earth. We move very slowly through the feet because the entire body is mapped out through the meridians of the feet. So when we attend to our feet like this with care and diligence, we are not just releasing the feet, but we're also releasing tension from our entire body. So if you feel tension letting go elsewhere in your body, then this makes total sense. And just follow that release as well. And then feel into the ball of the foot behind the necks of all the toes. And notice how this area feels quite different than the toes. There's a density here from the sole of the foot through the muscles, the fascia, the bones, up through the roof of the foot, all the crisscrosses of tension that you can feel into behind the big toe, the second and middle, fourth and baby toe. And just feel how over time this tension melts and releases into the earth. And then start to feel into the interior of your foot, the arch of your foot at the front, in the middle, the back, the instep and the outside of your foot. Feeling those little crossroads and heavy masses of tension. Goes all the way up into the interior of the foot at the front of the ankle, to the back of the foot at the heel and the Achilles, to the sides of the foot at the ankle and the ankle bones. So feeling all that tension drain down through your foot and into the earth. And then just breathing into all the pores of your feet, feeling the tension. And then feeling that tension dissolve down through the soles of your feet and into the earth. And then opening your awareness up into your lower legs. Feeling your shins and your shin bones. Feeling the tension being held in the bones themselves. All the way from the knee down through the front of the ankle. And then opening your awareness into the density of the calf muscle from behind your knees all the way down through your Achilles. This might feel more dense, maybe more numb. But the more you open your awareness to it, the more you build those neural pathways to feeling. And this kind of not feeling is a feeling as well. So just noticing the way your whole lower legs on both sides are relaxing, surrendering their tension. And you may notice the impact higher up in your body. Breathing in through all the pores of your lower legs and your feet, from your knees. Noticing any additional opportunities to release. Letting everything go here. And then feeling your buttocks on either side. Feel the way they touch the earth, and just notice if there's any gripping or holding, and give yourself permission to let that go so there can be more connection with the earth. And then open your awareness up into the interior of your hips, your pelvic bowl, including the bones of your pelvis. Your tailbone, your pubic bone. And your pelvic floor. And then opening your awareness to your upper legs from your knees down to your hip bones. Feeling perhaps the bones first, the knees, the hip bones, the femur bone. And feeling the tension from the upper leg bones. Feeling that dissolve down through the buttocks and into the earth. And then feeling into the quads and the hamstrings, the inner and the outer thighs. Feeling the tension and the density of these muscles. And then feeling your mid-back. Directly below your sternum, the lower ribs where they connect with the earth. Feeling the way your lower ribs lie on the earth. And then feeling the tension in the lower rib cage itself, the lower lobes of the lungs. And also the organs of the mid-torso, the liver, the gallbladder, the kidneys, the adrenals, the small and large intestines, the spleen, the stomach. You don't have to know exactly where all these organs are, but just sensing into and feeling the internal part of the mid-torso, feeling for tension. Allowing that tension to come forward and tending to the tension. Letting it dissolve in its own time. And feel your elbows heavy on the ground. Letting the tension from your fingers and your hands, your wrists, your lower arms drain down to the elbows and into the earth. And then feeling tension in your shoulders, your upper arms, letting that go down through your elbows and into the earth. Feeling your shoulder blades as they rest on the earth. Feeling the tension in the shoulder blades, the bones of the shoulder blades themselves. And then moving up through the layers of the upper lobes of the lungs, the fascia, the upper ribs, the collarbones, the upper part of the sternum, the throat, the hollow of the throat. Letting all that tension drain down through the backs of the shoulder blades and into the earth. And then scan your awareness throughout the inside of your body, noticing any pockets of tension, any parts of your body that are bringing tension forward to your awareness. And connect with those points of tension and notice how they feel, the felt sense of them, and follow their trajectory as they release and let go. Then finally come into the inside of your head, feeling the eyes from the backs of the eyes, feeling the tension in the backs of the eye sockets. The eyebrows and the forehead. Feeling the temples. And the jaws, the cheekbones. Feeling tension in the brain, behind the forehead, to the back of the occipital ridge. And then just sensing around the inside of your head, feeling for any remaining pockets of tension. Letting that tension release down through the back of your head. And then feeling into your body as a whole, breathing into all the pores of the skin of your entire body very gently and easily all at once. Allowing your body to relax and release, sensing the stillness of your body, attending to your body with devotion, tenderness, and compassion. Being with your body, relaxing and letting go as your body continues to melt into the earth underneath you. letting your body be in a state of complete somatic relaxation and openness. And then take your time, and when you feel ready, bring this state of somatic openness with you, and you can come back to our circle. So, if anybody wants to speak about their experience or has any questions about their practice in general, meditation or otherwise, then we have some space for that now.
Well, I was all over the place. Monkey mind, relaxation, nothing short. Things seemed pretty relaxed. I'd get out of my thoughts. My thought would come back. I'd focus on my breathing. I'd get really relaxed. At one point, I felt as if my arms were rising up, and then I thought, no, my arms are stable. I'm sinking down, and then that put me back in my head again. And so I did that through the meditation. But I was deeply relaxed despite running around like a little hamster.
Well, how's that for a paradox? Space for love.
It's my life.
I couldn't stay. I got to the ankles and a particular memory came up for me, and that was that. I just didn't have the capacity to do that today. So I just got up and had a walk around and came back and just sat and just sat down and listened and breathed.
Yeah. And, we were talking about appropriate and skillful action. And as always, we get to choose our appropriate edge, right? That's a really good example of choosing an appropriate edge.
I did try and override it and stay, but not. The direct message from my body was no capacity for this today.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And with things like that too, it might not be the right time, and for you it's the middle of the day, and you've got your whole rest of your day, but also it can be helpful to have these experiences witnessed by another person in an appropriate way too, so that it doesn't feel like you're going in on them alone. So that, and when I say that, I mean somebody who's skilled at holding space for those kinds of experiences. Yeah, like a therapist or a counselor, especially somebody who does body work. Yeah.
I had a little bit of monkey mind going in too. Just couldn't settle for a good part of it, and then I was able to relax a little bit, but it was a little bit hard to settle today.
Anything else that feels like you want to bring forward right now? Okay, so thank you all for your practice. And yeah, I'll see you on the forum this week. And Michelle, I just want to check in with you before you go. Okay, and I will see you all later.
Bye.
Bye.
Say